Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to yet again another Nordic mailbag for this June 20th, 2023. We're still a little ways away from that. In fact, we're like half a year. But yeah, it's June 20th. Let's get into the news. So there's some news that's a few days ago, but I still thought I'd keep it in here. Been a little bit busy this past weekend, so I wasn't able to talk about some stuff. But now, here we are. We have time to. The Winnipeg Ice, and this is a weird situation. They are relocating to Washington, where they're going to be renamed the Wenatchee Wild, I believe, if I said that correctly. And look, here's the thing. And it kind of shows to me that this is a bad sign for not just, of course, the Ice, but also, like, Winnipeg hockey as a whole. Because, really, when you look at, first off, the Ice, they had pretty good on-ice talent, but their management was absolutely terrible. And that was the part where, it just wasn't good. And they got sold, of course, and now they're relocating to Washington. And they had a really good team. They performed very well. But now, of course, they're going down to America in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., by the way. And it's kind of crazy when you really think about it. To think that, this team is leaving. It feels really weird because the Ice, in fact, were one of my more favorite WHL teams, and they've been producing some really solid NHL talent like Zach Benson in this year's draft, Connor Geeky, Matthew Savoie, just a few names that are recently that are in the recent media that come to mind right now. Of course, there's other players that have played for the Ice that could back that up, but it's weird to think that they're leaving. And then as well as that too, going over into the NHL, talking about the Jets, you see how, the season ticket holders, they're basically saying, oh, if you don't be our season ticket holder, we'll leave. And that kind of makes me a little bit worried for the potential future of Winnipeg sports. So just something I want to tell you guys there to keep in mind. But anyways, the Ice are relocating to Washington. Not saying the Jets will relocate at some point. Not saying that at all. But it's definitely not a good sign for Winnipeg sports. So some WHL news there for you. Over to the NHL now. The Arizona Coyotes have bought out Patrick Nemeth and Zach Kassian. I think as a Coyotes fan, this is a really good move. Look, you buy him out. You're still going to be paying him, but you clear up some decent cap space through the next 2 seasons, and it also removes those older guys and brings some more younger players into the lineup, and it's looking like they want to be more competitive next year. It looks like Arizona, that's the direction they want to go. I'm not saying they'll stop selling players off, but it looks like they want to get more of those young guys in the lineup, start developing them more, and maybe be more competitive next season, which I think is a good move, but don't push it. You should have at least maybe 1 to 2 more years where you're not in the playoffs, where you're still developing those young guys. Just don't push it just yet. Now, you look at their individual stats, you're not missing too much. Zach Kassian, he had 51 games played this season, 2 goals, 0 assists for 2 points, so not missing him at all. Patrick Nemeth, on the other hand, 73 games played, no goals, 5 assists for 5 points. So not really going to be missing either of those players on either the blue line or the forward core, of course. So it's good to get some more younger players in that lineup, as I just mentioned. Moving into some rumors now, it looks like the Montreal Canadiens are looking to trade their 5th overall pick, or at least trying to move up in the draft. They made offers for 4th, 3rd, and 2nd overall. It looks like they're trying to get either someone like maybe Leo Carlsson, or maybe they want Will Smith, but it looks like they don't want Mitchkov. It's weird. They want to move up in the draft. They want to get a better position, and it looks like they probably do want to get one of those top 3 guys, whether it's Carlson, Fantilli, Will Smith, some of those other guys that are in the mix there. And as I said in the Will Smith preview, and I'll say it for the rest of the previews I make this week, it's going to be a really interesting draft when we get right to it, because I think there's no question who goes number 1. It's going to be Connor Bedard, but pretty much everything after that is a question. Even 2nd overall, I do think, is a bit of a wonder. So I'm also wondering if we're going to see some trades this week. I think we likely will. It's Tuesday as of right now, of course. But I think it is a possibility we will see some trades occur. I just wouldn't expect any huge ones. Probably some minor deals moving some players. But hey, I've been wrong before. Some Carolina Hurricanes news. I believe I talked in the last, or at least in some mailbag, whether it was TikTok or YouTube, about how Brett Pesce could be on the move for the Carolina Hurricanes. And it looks like he's getting a lot of traction. He's a UFA in 2024, so the Hurricanes still have one more year of him and one more year to sign him. However, teams are already looking in on him, and it looks like Edmonton and Buffalo are the two most recent teams I've heard. And he's a defenseman, of course. He's a younger defender, so it would be a good move for either Edmonton or Buffalo to get him because it solidifies he's a top 4 defenseman, no doubt. And this year with Carolina, he played pretty solid. 82 games played, 5 goals, 25 assists for 30 points. So obviously he's really good in that defensive area, and he's solid offensively as well. So of course teams will be interested. I would expect more teams to circle around and not just Edmonton and Buffalo. So something else to keep in mind there. The St. Louis Blues are trying to clear up cap space, which is not a surprise at all. They're kind of red up there towards the cap. And it looks like they want to move one of their top defenders that is not named Torrey Krug, which is weird because he'd probably be the one you want to move. But he had a bad year this year. But I think, and I've said this before, I think St. Louis will be better next year. It even showed towards the end of the season that they were better. So I do want you guys to keep that in mind. But if I was to pick a defenseman on that blue line, it would likely be either Justin Falk or Colton Parayko. Likely more Parayko because Parayko had a lot of rumors at the deadline that he was going to get traded. He ended up not getting dealt. So if there's a team out there that wants to either take on Parayko's contract, because he's not a bad defenseman by any means, but if there's a team out there who wants Parayko, let's say it's Edmonton, for example, because it seems like they want every defenseman, they could go out and get Parayko for sure. So definitely he could be someone on the move, but it looks like there could be a lot of defense moved around, and also some goalies too. We're not going to talk about goalies too much, but that is something that could happen. Of course, as we edge closer to free agency, there's going to be a lot of signings, so I'll kind of roll through this pretty quick. The Rangers signed Zach Jones to a 2-year, $812,000 extension. The Dallas Stars re-signed Matt Murray to a 1-year, $775K extension. The Buffalo Sabres re-signed Zegmas Girgensons to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. The Pittsburgh Penguins signed Valtteri Pulistin to a 1-year, $775K deal. The New York Islanders signed Samuel Volduc to a 2-year, $800K deal. And the Montreal Canadiens re-signed Sean Monahan to a 1-year, $1.985 million contract. And last but not least, the Boston Bruins re-signed Brandon Bussey to a 1-year, $775K deal. So I would expect to see a lot more signings before the end of the season, or before the end of this week, in fact. We'll see a lot of probably bigger signings that I'll make individual videos on, of course. But yeah, as of right now, those are the guys that have signed. When we make a video, likely tomorrow, I'll have more for you. The New Jersey Devils, and we're seeing some more coaching hirings with Andrew Burdett leaving that assistant coaching role open. Of course, someone's going to take it, and it's going to be Travis Green, who was a former coach for the Vancouver Canucks about 2 years ago, I believe. Green has been rated as like a 9.4 out of 10 coach by the Sports Ox. And honestly, with what he did in Vancouver, I don't know if that was entirely his fault, because you had Jim Benning there too, and it was kind of a pretty bad roster of players when you really look at it. But I think Green being an assistant coach might be a better role for him. I don't think he's maybe suitable as a head coach, but assistant coach seems a lot better. And then the Flyers, they released new jerseys, which is pretty cool. I'll put it up on screen right now. They released their new jerseys for 23-24. As you can tell, I'm wearing Flyers right now, but it looks like they implemented a little bit of a darker orange, which I like a lot more. I like their 90s themed, and I think it's way nicer. So I like it a lot, and I love their alternate too. So definitely gonna have to maybe see if I can get some of those, even though I have 6 Flyers jerseys, but can't have enough Flyers, can you? For those who don't know, I'm a Flyers fan. Some other news here. We got a few more things. Milan Lucic of the Calgary Flames, appears like he's going to be testing the free agent market. The Flames have given him permission to talk to other teams, and it looks like he's pretty much done in Calgary. He's 35 years old, and in the last season with the Flames, he played 77 games, had 7 goals, 12 assists for 19 points. Honestly, I would expect him to probably retire, if we're being honest, because he's starting to get up there in age. He's 35 years old, as I mentioned, so he's definitely getting old, so I would not be surprised if he decides to hang up the skates if there's no traction for him this coming season. The New York Rangers hired Mike Peca as their assistant coach. I believe Peca was also an assistant for the Buffalo Sabres, I think. So not a bad move there for the Rangers. He's coming in there with Laviolette. We'll see if that changes the narrative in New York. And then the last thing I have here is Connor Hellebuyck. He wants $9.5 million in a max term contract. Hellebuyck this season, 64 games played, 37, 25, and 2, a 2.49 goals against average, a .920 save percentage. As I talked about, and as I said, the goalie market is going to be interesting this year because you got Carter Hart, you got Connor Hellebuyck, you got other goalies in the market too, like John Gibson. There's going to be goalies that are moved for sure, but Hellebuyck with a $9.5 million deal, that's going to be interesting if a team takes it. If a team really needs a goalie desperately, like maybe the Ottawa Senators will take that. But that is a pretty hefty price to pay for Connor Hellebuyck 100%. But anyways, it's not like it doesn't deserve it. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you all for watching. If you guys did enjoy, please go make sure to leave a like and the subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.